That's too much. And this is Comic News Weekly, where this week we ask the question to you guys, the viewers, and the comic community out there: is your collection too big for you to maintain? Where's that line? Are you ready for it? Or is it going to come down like a pile of comic books and spill out everywhere, and you're going to be like, what the hell happened? This is Comic News Weekly. Hit the subscribe button, smash one of those reaction bells, come hang out. Let's talk some comic books. We had a wonderful panel this week, a couple of guests that are interested in talking about this this content, or this question about comic books and the content therein. How much is too much? Do you know when your collection is too big for you to maintain? How did this come about? We'll get into that right after we get into the guests, and we'll get into the chat like we do every week. But leave a comment down below if you're watching this on the replay. I want to know what you think. I've gotten some crazy, funny messages that saying just rent more space. Add an addition to your house, Andy. Keep buying more comic books. No one answer is necessarily right or wrong, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. So let's get into it. And as always, the metalhead himself. We were just talking about this tonight, and I cannot wait to see more content from this fine gentleman. We got Ryan Rhynoverse. What is up, brother?
Doing good. Yeah. I found some historic data in the old VHS world, better known as my old band Fall in Line. So I'm going to try to cut up some of it, put it maybe some digital content, and throw it up on the old YouTube people for you guys just to make fun and poke holes at the old Rhino doing his thing on stage.
You know what's even better? You just need to like go live on your channel or record you putting the VHS into the TV and turning it on. That's gonna blow kids' mind. Just wondering how a VHS works. I'm looking forward to seeing that, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, I have my the last show I ever played. I have that content is digital, but this would be some of the earlier stuff from my earlier years. So
nice. Well, we've got a couple of special guests. Bryan is actually out at a Halloween party tonight. So good on him for getting out and having some fun. But a couple of special guests stopping in tonight. And you want to talk about collection and volume of books and sheer copious amounts of knowledge and everything that's going out there. You think at some point Andy might have a beat going to this, but you know who's really got the beat? He got the man himself, DJ Link's in the house.
What's up, homie? Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Dude, I'm so excited to hear what you had to say about this, because I know you've been doing picking up mystery boxes and buying comic books, like, I want to say almost gas pedal to the floor for like 3, 4, 5 years now.
Yeah, I've been buying a lot of stuff, and I can't wait to discuss it.
I'm really excited. And speaking of comic books, on the other end of the spectrum, over in the NYC, we've got Izzyverse NYC.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and okay, enough of that.
So for those of you guys that have not watched the 10 whack questions with ComicManAndy on Whack Comics YouTube channel came out tonight, and let's just say the old ComicManAndy did a little bit of singing and a hooping and a hollering on that, and
hooping and a hollering.
It's a gem. It is a gem for sure. But Izzy, man, I can't wait to talk to you, because newer on the game within the last year. I'm interested to kind of hear a bit of a wild card in your story as far as volume of comic books tonight.
Since 87.
Newer on the YouTube aspect. My apologies.
You've been on YouTube since 87?
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Don't you know that kid in the zoo?
YouTube was a thing.
Harambe got you?
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's a lot. We've reached the plateau.
We have. So how does this question come about? I mean, that's the first thing people are probably asking themselves, maybe even you guys here on the panel tonight. And I got to admit, this kind of hit me in the face. After last week, I sat down and started realizing, oh, there's that nice little layer of dust on the old Saga collection across the whole top. And I'm like, man, I got to dust that and clean that. I started doing that. Then I started realizing everything else around me had just this light film. And it's like, it's dusting time. I got to start dusting. So what I do, I've got slabs here. I've got slabs over there on the wall. I got slabs over here on the wall. I got a shelving section of just slabs over there. Another shelving section over there. And I'm like, hold on. Let me group up here and coordinate this. I wound up with almost 21 boxes of slabs.
God.
And I'll admit,
That's a lot of plastic.
The Punisher, way too much plastic. The Punisher collection probably makes up for about 8 of those for sure. But the more I started looking, DJ likes this counting. Okay, so the more I started cleaning, the more I started realizing I'm not going to get this done this weekend. I'm not going to get this done next weekend. I'm not going to get this done this month. If I'm lucky, I'll be done cleaning and organizing by December. And that's not just slabs. That's these 60 plus short boxes that I now have in storage in the next room over. And that some people might be watching this on the replay or watching this live and like 60, that's it. I mean, I can think of pictures of was it Gary? Gary showed pictures of his garage one time. What's his YouTube channel again?
Very Gary, you talking about?
Very Gary YouTube channel showed pictures of his garage, and it's just units and units and units of long boxes, just this mind-boggling number of long boxes. But
Scott from Hoarder's Hide as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for him to chime in. He's always almost always on the shows.
He lives up to the name Hoarder.
Exactly. And in Gary's case, at least in Gary's case, he buys to sell most of the time, right?
Yeah.
So he does have his own PC. So those boxes you see, most of them end up at a show for him to sell. So that he has a mechanism in place. Unlike some of us who we don't have a mechanism in place. We just keep picking up and picking up and picking up. And what goes out is a very small fraction of what comes in. So
for sure, like in comic book collecting comes along the lines of buying collections. And more often than not, to get the 10, 20, 30% of the books that you want, you oftentimes have to buy the rest of the collection to get the deal or the pricing that you want. And in the back of our heads, at least me or maybe a lot of other people are like, I'm sure somebody out in the community would love to have this, or I'll trade for something, or I'll sell them. And I tried a little bit of selling when Whatnot first started, and after about a year, I decided that's not something I have the time or kind of the gumption for. So it's like it didn't dawn on me after, I don't know, I've been reading comic books since the 80s as well, but I didn't start buying a lot of comic books until the last like 7 or 8 years. Probably about 8 years. And here I am with a collection like, man, how am I gonna carve out time out of my busy life right now to manage this collection, or what am I gonna do?
I got back into comic books when my first kid was in the process of being baked and made or formed, created.
Oh, I thought you meant getting baked.
Oh, he might have been doing that. I don't know. It depends on mom. But so I did ramp up fairly quickly as far as what my collection holds, and as I was saying in the chat earlier, now it's like the amount of football cards I have is I've actually looked at myself and looked at my room and felt disgusted, like, what is going on here? Something needs to change. So it can get carried away for sure.
And I feel you, because at what point do you call yourself a collector, a reader, a flipper, or whatever you want, right? So like I said, I've been collecting comics since '87. However, in my case, it's been a little ebb and flows. There've been moments where I don't collect as much, but I'm always, I was the guy that will, even if I didn't buy comics, I would pick up the Wizard just so I know what's going on, things like that. And there was times like that, but then more recently, when I started the channel, I was like, oh, well, now I'm gonna have to start buying books on a weekly basis, right? Because it's part of the conversation to know what's to talk about. And then what I find out is that now I'm at that stage where, you see, I got a small 2-bedroom apartment, and both bedrooms are being utilized by people. So I have a closet full of comics, and there's an overflow. And you were talking about organizing. I've been organizing for almost 2 months. Ooh. And it's largely because I don't have space anymore. And the truth of the matter is, as as a first and foremost, I'm a reader. So as a reader, I am not buying to collect or buying keys or buying anything because they have value. I'm buying because I want to read a story. I want to read a run. So after a while, that doesn't have any value. It depreciates. The minute you buy a comic book, it depreciates. It's just like the real estate.
So chunks
right?
of your collection might look like this, where they're just sitting here reading, going through them
Well,
all. This is
that's the hard part, because sometimes you buy so much that you don't even get a chance to read what you have. But I'm finally getting to that point in my life where I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time to move a lot of these books out of the way. Only hold on to the major keys, not even the minor keys, right? Not the first time this guy shows up at this city or some crap like that, right? But rather than hold on
the city.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than hold on to the books that really have some significant value that you hold, or sentimental value. If it doesn't have significant value, and if it's not sentimental, for me, it's not worth keeping anymore.
For me, I have it's funny because I don't have a lot, and this is over the last 3 years where I really went headfirst into collecting. So I have about like 60 short boxes. I don't do long boxes, I do short boxes. And out of that 60, I have 3 that's my reading queue. 8 of them is stuff that's on eBay, and then the rest is just stuff that I collect, like runs that I had put together and things like that. So I'm not quite running out of space on the comic book front. I also collect, like, the high value keys. I got a bunch of high value keys, and that's the stuff that if I had to sell everything, I wouldn't sell those. I would just get rid of all the other stuff. But I also come from a background of figure collecting. Like if my camera was panned out, I have a bunch of Hot Toys, stuff like that. So before I got into the Hot Toys, I would collect action figures like NECA, McFarlane, 6-inch action figures. And that I ran out of space extremely fast because I was just getting everything, every series. Every series had about like 7 figures. So I would just pick up the entire series, even if I only wanted 2 figures. And I wind up having to sell those because it was just too much to maintain. And Andy, like you were saying about cleaning, like to clean the action figure shelves, they're horrible.
It's like a nightmare.
Yeah, so I sold all of those to fund my Hot Toys stuff, and now I've ran out of space for Hot Toys.
See, and I'm thinking about like I went from comics, and then I went into cards. And I'm kind of done with cards. I'm trying to come to its end. And I was like, well, maybe I want to look at, like, maybe I'm going to do Transformer like toys. I love Transformers. Those are probably the greatest childhood memories I have are from Transformers. So
there it is.
And then I'm like, yeah. And so, but then I'm like, man, what is it? It has to be a point that's just not like monetary driven. It has to be something for some reason internally personal for me to want to do something like that, because it is quite an undertaking to move stuff you have and then to look to try to clean up and then put new stuff up.
Yeah,
I think.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, like everything's boxed, so it's pretty much just what people see on the YouTube channel that's getting dusted. But what I don't show super often, and I'd like to do some content at some point, is the Ahsoka Sanctorum that I created kind of for my wife, the whole Ahsoka collection. And now that's got to get dusted monthly, right? Well, there's sideshow there's several sideshow pieces. There's a lot of stuff over there, so that's taking some time. There's a whole Kanto section over here with original art that's taking some time. But it's just like, how much is too much when it comes to the books themselves? Because eventually, when you go over there, the boxes need to be dusted and cleaned. But then if you leave things sitting out for too long because you're reading, then the books are getting dirty. And then if the slabs are sitting out, then you got to clean slabs if they're not bagged properly. And it's just starting to snowball for me.
Yeah, I think for me, what's too much is when you start buying things. So I don't pick up doubles of anything, right? So, but if I'm at a show and if I grab a book and take it home and I go to file it and it's already there, that's when I know like I overstepped.
Well, that happens too, right? That happens all the time, right? When you go to a show and you look at this book, you just stare at this book. You're like, I don't know what it is about this book, but there's something that's calling me, right? So you go and you put the money down for the book. When you go home and you go, like you said, file it, you realize the thing that's calling you is that you already have that damn book.
Especially if it's something pricey. That's happened to me where I bought like a big book and I went and I had it, the same book.
And then
in
you start,
better condition than the one that I just paid for.
and you start looking at your collection quite a bit differently, in my opinion. I started seeing, oh, I'm actually tying up legitimate funds that my family needs right now.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you doubles. Like, it's the one thing where the Punisher run I've got one of each. When I started going through some of that today, Punisher issue number 1, volume 2, I've got 6 9/8 of that because they would sell for $30 to $40 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody cared about that run. And it's like, that's now legitimate cash just kind of being tied up, or value, in my opinion. Or like DJ said, if you're buying a big key, if you're spending $4, $5, $6, $7, $8,000 on a Silver Age key, and you're like, oh, I already have that, and you didn't check before, that's legitimate funds that my family could be using.
Now,
So
I have
y'all-
a question for you. When you say you have multiple copies of the same book, what was the original intention behind having all those copies?
For me,
Yeah.
it's like a crow seeing something shiny for me. The foil. I love foil books, but for me, Punisher, Star Wars, and Saga. If I find
I got 3 boxes of Punisher if you're interested.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
You guys should make a deal on a show about too much shit.
If I find another Saga 9.8 in this market the way it is, and it continues to trend downward, I might pick up another one. The first appearance of Dr. Aphra, I didn't need another copy of that, but because I got one for $200 at Heroes Con, which is the lowest price I'd seen in years, I'm like, that's a win. I get home and I put it in, and I'm like, I have too many copies of this book. Way too many. I have a short box just of Dr. Aphra slabs.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't keep doing that. I'm legitimately like tying up resources now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how are you cataloging your books?
It's funny you think I get that far. No, I like the BCW black plastic graded comic boxes because I can slip an index card, and I pretty much, I'll do round 1 Star Wars, or I'll just get a name on there and I'll just pile everything in there and get it all sorted in a direction. And then round 2, I'll go through and start going by like miniseries or Star Wars title or Punisher title or something like that. And then I'll go even further if I need to beyond that. And I don't think I've ever been ever complete when it comes to organizing. Never.
Yeah, so I use CLZ religiously. I have pretty much 98% of my stuff on CLZ.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I
I use CLCs as well. And
All three
overpriced. Yeah. But I don't have, I'm like you. It's, for me, it's since I've been collecting for such a long time, there are books that have not been cataloged. I do know what I have. You know what I'm saying? I know what I have as far as certain books, certain runs, especially when it comes to the keys. I know the keys I have, I own. It's those minor books that don't really have significant. Like, I have a whole run of Exiles. Why? Because I read Exiles and I liked it. But to be honest with you, I have no reason to hold on to them anymore because I don't care about it like that. You know what I mean? Exile was hot when it came out because everybody was interested in Blink. No one cares about Exile with the exception of one book that's one of the newer books from the Captain Carter. That's about it. Everything else is dollar bin book, including number 1. So what do you do with that?
Yeah. And you still run into those collections of there's 10% that you want, and the seller's like, well, if you buy the whole lot, I'll give you this really good deal. And you're like, yeah, I know somebody that likes reading this run or that run. And then you forget about it a little bit. And this is kind of where I knew I really needed to ask myself this question more. And this felt like a good thing to talk about tonight and continue talking about in the future was, hey, this friend in the comic community just posted that he's looking for this run or he wants to read it, or I know this would be an amazing okay. I got that run, but you'll be damned if I can find it in 2 months. Because even if I have stuff on CLZ, even if I've got unfortunately I did those stages where I've got things separated, but I never really finished. It's like there's this wave of, yep, I'm on my game. This is all perfect. This is perfect. This is perfect. And then you run into like 5 or 6 boxes of everything's just kind of in there. And it was like barely separated. And it's like, okay, then it becomes this daunting task of it's just kind of getting more and more complicated. There's so many AOKs and things that I've wanted to send out that I can't find in my collection right now. It blows my mind.
Yeah, I know you definitely need to have a system. So, and once you get your system down, then you should be fine. I mean, like when I was doing the figures, I keep going back to the figures because that's the most things that I had amassed at one time. So when I would dust it, I would do a shelf for Saturday. So I wouldn't even like take the whole day to do it. I would just do a shelf on Saturday, and that was that. And that would take a few hours. Then the next Saturday, another shelf, and just keep going, and as a cycle every single Saturday. But it applies to anything. As long as you have a system in place, you should be fine.
That's
Yeah,
a
I have
really
a
good way of looking at it.
I have like a, when I buy books from like the LCS, I'll put them into like a staging area where I either got to check them in or something like that, or I got to put them in new bag and board. And once I get that done and check them in, then they go into the box that they're supposed to go into.
Yep, same. So I do that. I put it in a new bag and board, reading queue, or there's some that I just collect for covers. I'll file those in the soon to be filed bins. But yeah, I always try to keep them separate and easily accessible as well.
My
And I,
reading queue for the last month and a half was just sitting here at the desk.
I read everything digitally.
That's a good
So
way.
I get the code from the book, and most of my stuff's Marvel that I get because I do Venom, and I use that to get the content digitally.
Now, Ryan, how many short boxes are you up to? You've been a Venom collector for a long time, and you're a completionist.
I have just over 20 boxes, I believe. The short boxes, like the graphic boxes. I have just over 20 of those, and then I have about 9 the BCW boxes with slabs in it. And there's two of the BCWs that are like all virgin covers.
Wow.
That's dude, I think you're seriously getting into the neighborhood where you should consider contacting the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest Venom comic book collection.
I'm seriously thinking about it. There's actually I have all the really hard books to try to find, and now I just gotta get off and get the easy ones that I just gotta scoop up.
So part of this has kind of made me feel like I'm reaching like the third echelon of or third stage of collecting now for me, as the first years ago was my Punisher stuff, the stuff I really enjoyed reading. And then the next stage was, oh, there are keys, and these keys, you can hunt for them in bins, and you can turn around and find out that they're worth maybe double or triple what you paid, or it could be, oh, and then you can get them graded. That was like another echelon.
It's like a new thing.
And then eventually, when I started getting on Instagram and YouTube and hanging out with a lot of people, you start to hear whispers and rumors of family members in your area that are selling collections. And now it's like, I don't even want to buy comic books in that fashion anymore. I just want to buy stuff to read. So what am I going to do with all this other stuff that I've either A, already read, or B, I bought with the intention of getting it to somebody at some point in the future? I got to figure that out.
Yeah, and I'm at the stage in my life now where I still do my weekly buys, right?
Same.
But I'm also at the stage that I'm not connected to them anymore. I don't have that sentimental feeling towards them. So, I'll do a giveaway to give them away, right? Like, here's my reader copies, and you can have them. People will like that. People like those giveaways, right? The other thing is, for the ones that I still have that are my older books, my plan now is to pretty much find a way to trade them off for higher value books. So so if I could get rid of 20 books for this one major book, I'm willing to do that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I know that those 20 don't have that value that one will have. But guess what? That one also takes up a lot less space than those 20.
Yeah, there was a show years ago. I think it was on either FX or on Spike TV. And it was a woman that would go to collectors to their house and try to convince them to downsize their collection.
I know what you're talking
And
about.
fundamentally, that was what she was preaching. Instead of having $110 figures, have $1,000 figure and just invest it all there, because that's going to more than likely retain the value as opposed to having all this other stuff. So that's a great point, Izzy.
Yeah.
So kind of not only just organizing, but managing the flow coming in now. Like I'm with you, Izzy, whereas I'm just picking up my weekly reads. And even this past couple of weekends, somebody that I've known from years ago that used to run a stand at an antique mall was like, hey, I'm back up and running. I had a couple of new collections fall in my lap. Come on down. You'll get the best prices. You can buy whatever you want. And every weekend I wake up and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go down there at 8 o'clock. I make a cup of coffee. I sit down and I'm like, no. I think I'm good. I think I'm good. And this is all Silver Age stuff, Silver Age, Bronze Age, and Modern Age, like right in my wheelhouse and right into some of the other stuff that I should be grabbing and reading. And I'm like, no, I feel like I need to manage what I have until I can get to the next portion where I could start buying a little bit more collection wise. Because that's one of the things fundamentally that we don't talk about a lot in this community, that as collectors, we change and we grow and we develop into different collectors. The 60 boxes I had 20 years ago, I might not need 20 of them anymore.
Yeah. And to that point, like you mentioned earlier, that you had all those copies of the first appearance of Afra. In all honesty, your collection sounds more like a dealer's collection rather than a collector. And you have to consider, okay, do I really need 10 first appearance of Dr. Afra, or do I need 1 or 2?
And I made that choice a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I was on that fence in the middle of COVID. Is this something that I want to do full time? Is this a lot of us in the community were kind of talking about that? Do we want to break off from what we've been doing in our careers and become full-time content creators and full-time comic book dealers? And I got to that bridge. I even started an LLC, and I'm like, you know what? After a few months, I'm like, I don't know that this is what I want to do full time. I like spending time with everybody in the community, going to the conventions and hanging out in lines and basically just spending more time with the people than the comic books necessarily.
Yeah.
So spending more time with the comic books as a dealer made less sense to me.
Yeah.
I started doing that recently for like at the past 2 years. Like I'll set up at certain shows. I'll get tables. Normally, like I'll sponsor the show, so I'll get a table for free, even though it's not for free because I'm sponsoring the show. And I sell books that way.
Yeah, guys, I gotta go. The missus just came out, so I gotta go pick her up. And it's Halloween in the Bronx, so take a
really
look
quick before you cut out. Where can people find you, and what do you have going on this week, brother?
So this week, Izzyverse is gonna. We're talking about comics. We got some unboxings that come up. So there will be some unboxings, and this Monday is gonna be a pre-recorded show because I am going to a mystery screening of a movie that is rated PG. It's about an hour and 45 minutes. So who knows? I may marvel at it. You know what I'm saying, guys?
Right.
So I'll let you guys know about that one, how that turns out. But thank you all, guys. Love you guys all.
Thanks for stopping in, brother. See you soon.
Peace, dude. Mystery screening. Last time I went to a mystery screening, it wound up being like a movie about the rapture.
Oh,
that's not a joke. That was true.
How did it end?
I don't know. I just disappeared.
Joke. Yeah,
it's hard to do it that quick on that one. That's such a big.
I'm not gonna lie with Hoarder's. I'm not gonna lie, Hoarder's Hide. I think I'm part hoarder when it comes to things I really love: foil covers, Punisher stuff, Saga, Star Wars. Star Wars stuff is kind of my kryptonite, my big kryptonite, especially when you run into a chunk of whatever number you want to start at, but when it's a complete chunk, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and I'm like, I don't care. I only need number 11, but these are all in really good shape and they're from the original collector, and I'm wham, bam. I have that problem too.
Yeah, you have to have self-control, man. Like that's one of the main things. Like when I started getting into the Incredible Hulk run, right? So the Incredible Hulk volume 2 from 102 on, I was just grabbing everything everywhere I went. And then I had to be like, all right, let me just relax. Let me just do $40 at a show and things like that. And just, again, putting those systems into place and just having like some self-control. And then I abandoned that very quickly and just got them all.
And here we go. Mark saying brand new Punisher drops next week. And it's like,
Mark is the devil on your shoulder.
There's the devil. And I think it's okay to continue buying and reading comic books digitally or regularly. I think I just need to be better about maintaining things. If you look at it like a timeline, because MCU is really about timelines right now. Where I'm at now is where I want to be, and where I was, I might not need anymore. So whatever I bring in, I need to start trimming off those pieces, whether it be in short boxes or in runs or in AOKs or something, anything. I've been adamant for years about getting into Golden Age Marine Corps books, being a prior Marine myself. And I, over those last 5 years, I've been able to find one for a price that I thought was reasonable.
Wow.
I've seen a couple others, but short of going online and buying, it's not how I want to do that collection. Finding them in person at dealers, and I'm not really able to do that a lot with Golden Age stuff because of the pricing and because of the availability.
Mhm.
So what can I do to help out with that? Trim off a bunch of the stuff that I don't need and let that go. And like what you guys have said, take 20 or 34 of those books, 20,
Mhm.
30 or 40, and turn that into a Golden Age or something else that you really want.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't have any doubles. That was one of the things I decided a long time ago because for a couple of reasons, I knew it was going to get a lot of space, was going to become a problem. So I was like, if I do doubles, and even the keys, like my 300s and stuff like that, I had doubles of them. Like, I think in 1 year, I had probably about 6 different 300s come through my house,
Wow.
and I only kept the one that I had that I recently got screwed on, but so that was the only one I kept, and I passed everything along. And one of the other reasons why I do it is because I know as a collector, man, it's so tough to find some of these books, and I'd feel bad holding them because I knew there'd be someone else out there that would need it. So when I would sell it, it would have to go to someone I knew that was going to actually buy it and keep it for themselves. I wouldn't sell it to just I wouldn't put it on eBay because I wouldn't another person. It had to be someone I knew that was gonna purchase it, and then I would try to, and I would sometimes I would hit them with a pretty good discount because I know how cool it is and fun it is to actually get that book. So I don't have any doubles things. The only things that would be close to doubles are ones that have like slight variations, maybe in the book, or there's a regular print and an error print that would have a little bit of variation. Even when it comes to like the Virgin covers, if there's a Virgin cover and you can get it in trade dress as well, I'll sell the trade dress, keep the Virgin cover. And during that time after the old COVID action, I actually had a buddy of mine, and the both of us were Venom collectors, and so every time the new series would come out, you had to like basically have like a computer bot to be able to buy them almost. So we would go in it together at the same time, and then whoever got the book, whoever got it, we would just split the cost, and we always knew that he wanted the trade and I would get the Virgins. And so that's how it was like a tag team up so that we can get the books that we needed.
Nice. I do the same thing too. Like if I get a Virgin set from like a Big Time Collectibles or a ComicMan, I always sell the trade dress just to keep the Virgin.
Yeah. I just like it helps. I think it helps maybe it doesn't help at all, but I feel like it does help out to have like people can get there, find that book, especially if you go someone that has been looking for it.
Yeah, and it's gonna go to somebody that's looking for it, and then you end up with the cover that you want and that you like.
For sure.
That's where I'm not good at it. I see a set. I see a set, and to let go of one means that for me that set is no longer complete, and then there's a hole in my heart and my soul. But I can appreciate where you guys are with that, and I'm beginning to think that one of the things that I found that was really successful in the past was there was a dealer on eBay years ago that would take bulk comic book collections, break them down to specific reads and runs of 5 or 10 issues, post them on eBay to start for a week, 7-day auction for 99 cents. Wherever they ended, they ended. That's how I got a lot of my really fun modern runs because people weren't paying money for modern over the last 10 years. And, the late 90s or the early 2000s or the mid 90s, people just not a lot of keys that people cared about in there. That's how I got a lot of those, and I'll keep a lot of those, but a lot of the other stuff that I shouldn't keep, maybe I should consider doing that with.
Yeah, no, definitely that AOKs, the stuff like that. Or have you considered going back to Whatnot or creating an eBay store?
I have considered going back to Whatnot to see about just having stuff go out.
Yeah.
The trick of that is if you're going to like eBay Live or Whatnot Live, people are generally looking for that week's flavor or that month's flavor, things that are going on there and then. So maybe I'll look at eBay, but what I want to know is everybody watching on the replay and everybody that is here live tonight, please leave a comment in the show description. I'm curious, how many comic books do you own? Leave a comment down there. I want to talk about it. Let's see who has the most comics in the community. I know Hoarder's Hide is going to have a lot. Now, granted, what do they say? Honor commitment there, or it's honor society or whatever you call it. Just be honorable with what what you put in there, and I want to see if people leave enough comments to see how many people are at that. Oh my God, I have more than I thought.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Hyde has more than 100 comics.
More than 100. Wow,
100,000.
a lot. How much is a small? How much does one of those graphic boxes hold?
115-ish, 100 to 115, I think. The
Yeah,
small
he has like a warehouse.
God.
Yeah.
When you have to rent a place to store all your books, that's when you need to think about.
But that's when you get into the retailer mindset, because it's only $30 a month for a storage unit. Well, if I sell enough to cover that, and
But are you going to? That's the part, because like here is one of the conundrums I've come up. And this is it's with cards and not comics, but I have a tremendous amount of cards, and I have really good cards. The problem I have is trying to post these cards and trying to get them to move now is a challenge. And by the time it seems like I'm posting someone, well, they've hurt their toe and they're out for some time frame, and now they're not as hot. And I got to put this other guy because his backup's getting out. I'm like, I got to scramble to put them up. So that's where I'm at with the cards. I think that comics don't quite move as fast as that.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, I know there's card collectors out here that do something of the same. So that's
thinking about comic books being stable is kind of a silly thought, right? Until you compare it with sports cards. Comic books are actually probably a little bit more stable than most sports cards, I would think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just the fact that it's way more stable than cards. I mean, as a Canadian voice, there was a player that didn't play up until last week, and now their card went from selling for like $5, and now I think it's selling for like 115 in like a day.
Wow.
That's insane. I'm curious to see what people are going to leave in the comments down below as far as what they have quantity wise, to see kind of like, does anybody hit that kind of oh shit moment like I've done recently? Like I've got way more than what I thought I did. Or are people going to be like, no, this is manageable? Like Scott, Porter's Hide, 24,000. That seems light for you, man.
Yeah, it does. I think he's just saying that
24K.
No, that's like if you saw his setup, if you see where to see where he's broadcasting from, that's 24K is light.
If you ever see him on a YouTube channel, what you can see behind him is probably 24,000 comic books. Everything else, he's got a massive setup. I'm surprised he doesn't have a shop or something set up to kind of churn a little bit and kind of put more money into other bigger books. But one person who I don't think has ever sold anything is TJ the Slab Dragon here. He's kept every slab that he's purchased, I think, besides maybe one or two given out as AOKs. And he's up to 2,466 slabs.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Insane. That's a lot of slabs.
Yeah, when I got into comics before COVID, I had gotten a couple of slabs as gifts from my wife. So I wasn't really actively collecting then, but then I started getting into slabs. So I would get slabs before I started getting the weekly pull list. And that weekly pull list was just to keep up with the conversations that were happening in the community. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to do this, Raws. Let me do my Incredible Hulk run. Let me do a Silver Surfer run. Let me do an Avengers run. And then it just spiraled out of control on top of the weekly pulls. And my pull list, shit, at one time it was like 25 books, which is insane a week. And then, so if you watch like some of my earlier videos when I was doing my weekly hauls, I would say, oh, this XYZ number one, I just picked it up because it's a number one. Like you should always grab a number one. I don't say that anymore because I don't do that. Like I'm skipping out on all the stuff. I'm only getting the stuff that I want to read.
Yeah. I made that.
That's important. I was just saying that's important to get stuff that you read, because it seems like when you have an interest in it, you keep up with it and you know its value more. The stuff you don't know, when you try to go to sell, you're like, how much is this going for? And you can look at your different things you check to try to get pricing, but it's like then you're also looking like how much is it really like? But what's it? Is there any fervor around it, or is it like on decline, or that kind of stuff? So
that's a really good point. We actually, whether we give ourselves credit or not, or we give the community credit or not, we actually value comic books vastly different than we did 10 years ago. Why? the MCU is not as fresh as it was. The idea of a comic book character hitting a movie screen is not as exciting as it used to be. I think it's part oversaturation, part MCU oversaturation, part superhero saturation. You can chop it up in about 8 different reasons on why, but at the end of the day, a comic book character hitting the screen, whether it be big screen or streaming media, it doesn't carry the same weight that it did 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago for comic books. So I can't tell you how many things have hit the screen. Halo's been approved for season 2. Those Halo comic books and graphic novels are like not even a blip on the radar. Nothing. People are looking for them, but they're not the 4 or 5 that you don't see that sharp upward trend when you got the news. You don't see the same peaks and valleys like you used to. So you can tell that comic books are being valued by people in the community vastly different than they were 10 years ago. Therefore, now we're really thinking about what DJ said. He's not buying every number 1 anymore. Why? Because it's not smart for his collection. It's not smart for his storage. It's not smart for his bottom dollar, because number 1s, 98% of them are never going to be worth more than what you put into them. And if you're not interested in that title, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. What's the point? And like right now, I'm not trying to plug my Whatnot show, right? So I just got bit by the Whatnot bug. I got my second show coming up. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to sell off a bunch of the books that I have on my eBay stuff to fund like another major key. So I'm looking for the Incredible Hulk #4 from the OG Incredible Hulk, the first 6, and that's the last one that I need to complete that set. So I was like, you know what? Let me experiment with this. Let me see if I can go on there and just sell all this stuff for that to fund the purchase of that book. So that's what I'm doing. 60 to 75,000 cards.
Wow. That's a lot. That's light.
Yeah, but yeah, because you know how easy, I mean,
in a box, you're gonna like 1 million cards in a box.
Yeah, one of those single row short boxes. I don't know how much those hold, but it's got to be a fair bit.
I mean, so like for me, who said that? That was Hoarder Tide. So like for me, the way that I've been collecting is there's different ways to collect cards. And a lot of people will do, they'll buy the cards that they want. They'll try, and that's usually the flippers. They'll buy the ones for a low price, try to flip them. Or you have guys that'll crack open. They'll do like box breaks and they'll collect that way. But I like to get hobby boxes and just go through them and see what comes out of it. That's where the excitement is for me. And so I have a deal set up with my local card shop, where I bring them product for them to sell singles in their store with, and in turn they give me credit for hobby boxes. And that's been a good system, because these hobby boxes run, it can be anywhere from $150 to $500 for a box.
Yeah. And
not knowing what you're going to get. So it's less of a risk for me that way, because I'm not using actually cash, if you will. And then it turns it into an opportunity. And they're usually buying stuff. They're not buying the high echelon like cards, because they're buying stuff that's in the mid range, because they want stuff that's going to move, and usually like local colleges and so on and so forth. So, but that has turned to where I have now, like and again, I'm like an organizer. Like, so when I'm when I'm done with stuff, when I get done, I sit down and I'm organized. I have boxes, with different sets. I have everything broken down by players. I have boxes of receivers, boxes of quarterbacks, boxes of running backs, and then broken down by each player's name. So it's
wow,
it's tough, because the reason why I do that is because when something happens, you got to be able to react pretty quickly and get to it. And so otherwise, it should be complete chaos. And my wife thinks, she's like, just throw all the base cards in the trash. If you're not going, I just don't want to see them anymore. And I will probably I might can get 5 cents for some of the base cards. But I mean, really, honestly, I'm going to have to find someone and unload this stuff at a really deep discount order to get it moved. Then it's trying to find that person. So it's tough to throw away something that has little value to it, because you don't know when it's going to spike. Purdy, like Brock Purdy, he was a base card. I have a bunch of his rookies, and they were sitting all in my commons there. They were in boxes of commons, and all of a sudden he popped off, And I was like, oh crap, we go back and look, and sure enough, I pulled out like 4 or 5 party cards, rookie cards, valued at almost $80 to $100 a piece,
Oh,
just
wow.
sitting in comic. But when I put him in there, there were nothing because he was the last pick in the draft. So it's like it's a weird deal because you don't know what you can get rid of, what you can't. You know,
It definitely pops off different than comic books, but you said something important there, and I really appreciate what you brought to the table here. With you unbox your cards and you have a system, right?
Mhm.
That was the light bulb over my head when I was following my system, trying to organize stuff on a Saturday afternoon, and then over my shoulder I hear, "Hey, Dad, can you play this video game? Hold on, I'm busy. Hey, Dad, can you?" And I started to realize
dude, that's just it's a horrible feeling when you realize what you're
I'm
doing.
not gonna get this weekend back. The
Yeah.
reality is that I got to face right now is I have 12 more summers with my son, and that's it. And he'll be
And that's
18. He'll be 18 and doing his own thing after that.
my stuff. I do it after my family. After my family goes to sleep, that's when I do my card business. So that's typically I do that like after I get off done here until about 12 o'clock or whatever it is. And right now I'm trying to play Spider-Man on top of that, so it's cutting into my card time. But I try not to make that interfere with my family because my family is ultra important to me.
And that's where
But it will creep in. Yeah, like you, I know your family is super important to you, Andy. But it creeps in, and it's sneaky like that.
that's where my collection started to get these waves of imperfection. And then I said, I'm fine with that right now. Because when my son needed my time, or when I wanted to be with him, or it was a weekend, it was family time, I dropped my collection to be with my family. But now this led to this, the rest of my collection isn't baseline taken care of. I've got to either figure that out, or I've got to be okay with letting go how it is. That being said, I did not intend for this show to turn into divorce paperwork for Chad Cave over here. Higher paying job and buy a bigger house. Oh God. This is something that I think I'll continue to preach and die on my hill for this forever for the rest of my life, is there really is no wrong way to collect. Because we're all vastly different and we have different ideas of what we like. And there's a lot of people out there that'll tell you, yes, there's absolutely a wrong way to collect. You're going to waste this money, you're waste that money. People have to live that. People have to learn through that trial and error process. And that helps get them where they need to be at some point. And that's helping me out too.
Yeah, as long as you're financially responsible and you're not sending your kids to bed hungry and you're not getting yelled at, like, you're all right. Like, that's the main thing, is be financially responsible. Don't let the hobby consume you.
And that's easy to have happen too, because I think cards more than comics is a very addictive type of collecting.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Ryan. I'm right there with you. Not necessarily right there with you, but
Yeah.
when it comes to box breaks, I like breaking Star Wars boxes. I really like breaking Star Wars boxes and recording content with that, and then sharing. And part of it's like I still haven't unboxed an Ahsoka card yet.
See, I need to do where it works because I do. I mean, this is ridiculous. Have you ever seen a card break? Typically, they'll do like they'll get a box, or they might get a mixture of a few boxes and open them up. What are you gonna say?
The card breaks, yes, but you know what they're doing now is they're diverting their financial responsibility from their own bank accounts to they're doing those card breaks on Whatnot and other live streaming apps like TikTok. The card breaking is really moving on TikTok, and people are buying the packs. The person breaking the pack gets the dopamine that they want to get, gets to find some cards, and they potentially like, I have this card in my hand. How about I just give you X? They probably buy it on the side, which is not, necessarily dishonorable, but they're not taking the financial hit in their bank account to search out for a lot of the cards they're doing. Or they want.
So I've thought about that angle too, because like I said, you get the fun part of opening the packs. And with me, my card collection is like my comic collection. Comics, I collect Venom. Cards, I collect the Falcons. And outside of that, nothing else matters. So it's like I would like to move them. So like I was saying, I do breaks, or I'll get like a hobby box and I'll open and I'll have like a couple other like blasters or something like that, and then I'll do it and open it. It's real fun, but I'm just doing it at home all by myself. There's no one sharing with it, so I need to at least start doing content around it so that it makes somewhat interesting for those who want to watch that.
And for me, when it came to finding that book that you're hunting for or hitting that card that you're breaking for, sharing that love of making that goal or reaching that goal is really where I kind of gotten into content creation or getting on IG or being a part of the community. So there's that aspect, is you want to continue being a part of that, but you don't want to sacrifice some of your personal and professional goals outside of your hobby either.
Yeah,
You want to
yeah, for
continue
sure.
achieving that stuff. So it's kind of a two-way street and finding balance there.
Yeah, it's definitely something you have to monitor. You can't like let it go unbridled. Like you have to kind of keep an eye on what's going on.
For sure. And that is why sometimes doing a singular topic show is just fine, because we're 50 minutes in. And what I really want to see from everybody is going back on the show and posting where they're at with their collection. And are they hitting that oh shit moment? Do they have too many books? Not enough books? Would they like to do more? I'd like to hear more about Hoarder's Hide and what he kind of envisions as his plan in the comments, kind of talking about, is he just gonna wait? He doesn't have a plan. He's just gonna keep hoarding.
Yeah.
Either way,
it's
His
all in the
plan
name.
is to hoard. I think this is his plan. He's being successful.
There's a lot of people out there. I do know that this is a journey we can all kind of live together and kind of share. And I like hearing, especially from you, DJ. I know you do a lot of mystery box unboxings, so that means you can pull in a lot of books in a month at any given month, really.
Yeah, and 98% of those books I don't keep. So a lot of that goes right up on eBay. Now it's going to transition to the whatnot stuff. And yeah, just try to get those, because we do that for content mostly. And then just try to turn that into a big key, like a couple of $1,000 key.
And like House of L is at a point in his life where he needed that collection to work for him, and not such a fun portion of life, but at least it was there for him, and he was able to make that happen.
Yep.
We'll trade for guns.
That's his other hobby.
That is another pro tip, like key thing to remember, is don't be afraid to pack a couple of slabs or books that you're willing to part or trade with that you think dealers might be interested in whenever you go to a con. You can always turn those into other books. In fact, I started doing that in the last couple of years, and it's helped out tremendously, achieve some goals for sure. I'm not going to get to that retailer incentive Clone Wars 1 with cash. That's still a $4,500 to $5,500 book. I'm going to have to trade my way to that book.
Trading on that.
Yeah, as long as you get it.
I come here for all my single topic conversations. Speaking of coming and going and single topic conversations, don't forget to check out Whack Comic Books, 10 Whack Questions, ComicManAndy. I had literally some of the most fun. It's probably one of my favorite coveted experiences in the comic community, was the time with Lee and those whack ass questions. And we had a ton of fun, and you guys got to check it out. We did a photo shoot for the thumbnail, and it was exactly what my name, ComicManAndy. We had fun with it. So check that over on Whack Comics. And that's 50 minutes of kind of collecting comic books, of like the collections getting so massive, about where I was kind of at and where people were at. And it sounds like you guys are in a really healthy place still. It sounds like I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but like, just to kind of reiterate, as long as you have a system and you're self-aware, like clearly you are, because you hit this roadblock where now you're determining whether your collection is unmanageable or not. Just have a system in place, and that'll help you tremendously.
Yeah, system is what the key thing is. It's something that it's just like that's and it takes a while to kind of perfect that and make it sure it's sustainable, and that, like, yeah, system is key.
Yeah, that being said, like you guys said, a system, but then also don't beat yourself up over when you're not successful.
100%.
Like I do that a little too much. I beat myself up a little too much about, I didn't get to this box or that box or this section. You know what I mean?
Well, I know earlier you said like you'll have like ebbs and flows in your collection, and I just get really kind of like, man, if I miss it, it's gonna suck, and I don't have to go back and try to find it a different. I've learned to actually be like, oh, okay, that's something now. Let's say you need to chase it for it later on, and that's how I looked at it, because the chasing part, that's the fun part for me when it comes to comic books, like trying to go and find them, and that book you think you'll never get, and then all of a sudden you're like, you have it. It's like, oh crap. I'm still alive to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like I never thought I'd get it in a million years, but you do. So yeah, just, I guess you just always remember the sun will come up, and it's like though it might feel sucky that you missed a book, you can always go back. It gives you a reason to kind of keep going and hunting. I love hunting. It's fun.
Yeah. That is key to collecting, right?
That is the keys to the story.
Yeah, that's true. On that note, tomorrow is New Comic Book Day. We're not going to cover it though. There's a lot of great content over there, including on DJ Lynx's channel, on Legion of Comics channel, and everybody else out there. JLS Comics. There are a ton of people out there with a lot of great New Comic Book Day content that we can watch and we can share along, and let's help grow those channels as well. Here tonight, we're going to skip it and we're going to move into what now, Ryan?
Una más single? Caught me off guard a little bit. I was like,
DJ, it's literally like whatever you want to talk about for the tail end of the show about your channel, what you got going on. So Ryan, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, so DJ, I will ask that if you can maneuver your camera, because I'm interested in these busts you have behind you. But
yeah, I'll actually
as part of your, I'll just say my one thing and then we'll check it out. So just go check out Rhynoverse on eBay. I do have a lot of new football cards coming up, whatnot, and then I am looking for some Transformers. So if there's some folks out there that has some Transformers they're looking to get rid of, not looking for it, it's going to be something that my kids will probably play with. I just want to get some cool things. Been trying to find Devastator if that's possible, but yeah, let me know. Just look up Rhynoverse on any platform.
Absolutely.
Dang, that thing turns on.
Yeah. So it's hooked up to the. So this thing, the what do you call it? The arc reactor. That's by remote control. For some reason, it's just there. You go. The arc reactor's remote control. The Thanos lights, the Gauntlet lights, and then Iron Man. Everything else but the arc reactor. That's into an outlet controlled by light switch.
Wow,
cool. That's awesome.
And I thought I had a lot of figures.
Yeah, it's
that's what I'm telling you. Like, this is the worst. So if I had to clean this, which because I'm relatively new still in this room, right? So, and I only come in here to record stuff and clean and whatever. But the way I would clean this would be, let's say like there's one shelf and it's about what is it, like 12 feet? I'll do half of it one day, half of it the other day. Same thing, like in the bottom, there's statues along the bottom here. Half of it one day, half of it another day. And the same thing like that. This one I'll probably do in thirds because there's a lot of figures on here. And then these guys I just dust off with a makeup brush.
Interesting. Okay, that's.
How about you use can of air too, huh?
No, so what happens is when you use a can of air, it just spreads the dust everywhere. So let's say if I do it here, it's just gonna go there, and then when I do it there, it's gonna go back there. So I'll literally take a figure off, put it here with makeup brush, dust it off, put it back.
How often are you doing that?
You're knocking the dust down onto the counter there or the table.
Yeah, and then wiping it. I'll have a bounty here. This is actually my DJ setup. This is here. So I'll put like bounties or towels, and then I'll do that and then wet it. If it has like a leathery texture, let's say like this Spider-Man right here, I'll like wet it a little bit and then I'll dust it off that way.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's not only one more thing, that's a lot of things, but seriously, man, one more thing. What do you got going on in your channel? Because you're on every week at least 3 nights a week, right? 2 nights a week? Yes, DJ, sorry.
Oh no, yeah. we're only live on Fridays. My bad, Andy. So on the channel right now, I dropped the video on Monday, so it was a New York Comic Con highlight reel, and I put a lot of time and effort into that. So I appreciate if everyone would head on over to the channel, give me a subscribe, hit a like, and at least watch that New York Comic Con video. There's a bunch of people from the community in that. I think that video represents what New York Comic Con was, where it's just a bunch of people and a little bit of comics, because that's what New York Comic Con was. Tomorrow, I got a mystery box dropping on Wednesday, so my schedule is Monday video, Monday video, Wednesday video, and then the live stream on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, where we're having the mix, and we'll just talk about whatever's going on and make fun of each other constantly.
I had the most amazing opportunity to sit down with these guys last Friday on In the Mix with DJ Lynx and the crew. And I got to say, that's in my top 5 comic community experiences on YouTube, along with Whack Comics, was the time we got to spend with DJ Lynx last Friday. I don't think I stopped laughing the whole show, to be honest with you.
Oh, thank you. My wife is just like, what's up with Andy? Why was he giggling so much? No, we're a rowdy bunch. We're always on the border of getting canceled, so it's whatever.
It's good stuff for sure. But there's DJ Lynx's New York Comic Con recap video link in the chat and the channel link for DJ Lynx. Please subscribe. Check out that New York Comic Con video. Give that a watch. That's amazing content. I'm still in awe of the quality of editing and filming that you do. Your touch and your flair is definitely a standout in the comic book community, and we love what you bring, man.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I have a professional video editor background, so it's not just for.
Oh, wow.
So for New York Comic Con, Nomas Comics, I don't know if you follow him on Instagram. So he put up a video yesterday of New York Comic Con. So I was actually contracted by Nomas to capture footage for 3 days at New York Comic Con. So I did his video. So that's on his Instagram page, and it came out fantastic. And then I took some of that footage as well as other stuff that I was able to film while I was there. Like I was able to break away. And that's what my highlight reel is about. But big shout out to Nomas Comics and Capture Collectibles.
Yeah, and Chad, DJ Lynx did make music.
Yeah, not anymore. So I was a professional DJ background. This is actually my DJ controller, Newmark NS7 first generation. Back in the day before that, when my early 20s, I made beats. So I did some beats for some like local rappers here in New York. And then I tried to be a rapper myself back in the day, like out of high school, early 20s. And then like on the channel, we would do the epic rap battles. Like it's been more than a year since we did one. And I might have to bring that back out. People are asking for it. But the epic rap battles was definitely a highlight of my channel.
Nice. Look forward to it, man.
Epic rap battles.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, those
yeah. Everybody subscribe to DJ Lynx. The link is in the chat for sure. One more thing from Three Rivers Pittsburgh Comic Book Show, November 5th. This week is upcoming weekend, actually. And I think Grand Rapids Comic Con in Michigan is going on. There's still a lot of conventions going on the rest of the year for sure. My one more thing is I got to drop the link in the chat. I should have had this earlier, but I want everybody to check out the Whack comic books. Whack comics. It is not safe for children. You probably shouldn't watch it at work. I'm going to admit that. You should probably take the 20 minutes to watch it right now tonight after this show. But Lee from Whack Comics and myself are still in tears with this, and I can't stop laughing. I will say the show was so fire. We actually set off alarms. We actually set off alarms. That's my one more thing tonight. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit like. Follow all of these guys in the community and follow each other. Build the community because you'll never know when somebody's going to decide to start a channel and need some support. But that's thank you everybody for another great Comic News Weekly Tuesday. And you guys know how we're going to do this. If I can figure out how to talk again, I'm going to go peace out. I'm going to catch you on the flip side for the next one. Remember, the most important part all day, every day is what, Ryan?
Be cool to yourself.
Stay original and take care of each other because we are.
That's why I said it was original. It was original saying.
There you go. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace out, y'all.
Double up, double up, double up. The money I color. Excuse me while I change. The whole boogie has made me sweaty. Yeah, sweaty.